Okay, so here we have a question about probability and specifically on how to run an experiment that tests out a probability of a certain event. And here it says if I have a fair six-sided number cube, or a number dice, right? Number cube, dice, and I want to run trials that show the probability of landing on any particular number, what is the best means of producing valid samples? So if I want to find out on a number cube, right, what really is the probability that I'll land on a 2 or a 1 or a 4, right? What are the chances of each of those situations? And I might say, oh, it's going to be 1 out of 6, and that's true, but what if you're not sure, and what if you want to test that? How do you go about doing it? Well, the idea in probability is that, the probability, for example, of landing on a 1, when you say that's 1/6, what does that mean? Well, that means over a very large number of trials. In fact, as you approach an infinite number of trials, right, we will get closer and closer to this probability. So it's not that it's guaranteed over a small number of trials, and it's not that you'll have exactly 1/6 over a million trials, but as you run more and more and more and more and more trials, regardless of all the random events that happen, ultimately the probability of landing on a 1 will be almost exactly 1/6. So what do we do? Well, the idea here is to cross out A and B right from the start, because rolling once, right, anything could happen. If I roll once and I land on a 4, right, that means that out of one trial, the probability of landing on a 1 would then be 0 out of 1. Because, well, we didn't land on 1 at all. We only landed on the number 4, let's say. And the probability of any other number occurring is then 0, experimentally at least. And that doesn't really make any sense. And the same could happen here with rolling 2 number cubes at once. Well, the same thing, except now you just have 2 trials, right? And the probability of landing on a 1 could still just be 0 out of 2. In other words, it's very, very far from the probability that we would expect over a large number of trials. So these small number of trials would give us very inaccurate results. So probably the best choice here is C, to roll 100 times and then record the results. I would cross out D, and counting the number of dots on each face is not very helpful. So anyway, the idea is, generally, with whatever way they write these questions, that you look for the choice that offers you the most randomness. In other words, the most number of trials to kind of account for all the things that could happen, and and enough trials at least to start to approach, right, what the theoretical probability is for any given event. All right, thanks.